Parvathy Thiruvothu is one of a kind. She's an exceptional actor, but also an activist who walks the talk. She refuses to do films that glorify misogyny and has called out powerful actors and filmmakers for making films that do the same. Her Twitter bio reads, actor, feminist, shapeshifter. Parvathy plays by her own rules, which is what makes her a first mover. Parvathy, such a pleasure to have you on First Movers in Film, empowered by Bumble, a social networking app where women make the first move.
I'm so loving that. Thank you for having me.
Parvathy, I want to start by talking to you about your fearlessness. I am always amazed at things you do and things you say, and I wonder, have you always been this person, or did you come to it? And if you've come to it, how do the rest of us get there?
I think the key is functioning despite the fear. Like I actually function from a place of fear, to be honest. I mean, it's never that I am fearless. I am always functioning and making sure I am taking baby step towards whatever area that I'm working on, like be it personal, professional, or any aspect of my life. I am taking baby steps towards progress, regardless of the fact that I might be crippled by fear. It's just that I have never found a space. Like there's always been like a peak moment once I have done the required action and I see like there's a momentum and some of my friends or the public even like moving towards it, then I feel this euphoria, which could probably be the fearlessness aspect. Maybe for a moment there's this suspended feeling of anything is possible.
You know, Parvati, the courage also extends to how open you've been about your struggle with mental health. You talked about seeking help for depression, but you said you first sought it because it was getting in the way of your work. But now you are continually working on yourself. You know, you're bettering yourself all the time. How are you doing this?
So I had to start digging really deep as to what it was that I was suppressing and pretending was okay, to make everything function really nice and well. So that on the outside, no one else needed to carry the weight that I was taking on a lot more than what I could. So then I was like, this is really embarrassing. I don't want to have to stop shoot. I don't want to have to, cause the producer trouble. So it was always for others that I started, finding my way towards healing. And then I met my therapist. Like, I mean, it took me long enough, I think a year and a half after the incident, that I went to a therapist. And she was like, that is not the reason why you should be seeking therapy, like to help others. Like, I mean, even there, you're not prioritizing yourself. And to be honest, it's been about 6, 7 years now. And I still find it difficult to prioritize myself. I don't mind saying this again on a show like this because it's so important for us to acknowledge our failings and not as weakness, but in acknowledgement comes power. And in all my acknowledgement of my weaknesses, in my bad habits, bad mental habits, I have felt empowered to take the first step towards saying no, saying yes to the right thing, saying yes to me. And I do all that drama. Like, I mean, I have worked towards coming to a space where, you do that thing where you look into the mirror and say, you're a badass, you're awesome, you're going to kill it today. Like you do that thing. And I never thought that that would work. But one of my friends, Amanda, she does that. She like wearing lipstick. It's like, you're so awesome. How dare you? Like, it's a very poo thing to do, like from K3J, but like, तुम्हें कोई हक नहीं बनता कि तुम इतनी awesome हो जाओ, like that thing. But it really helps.
You know, one of my favorite films of yours is Uyare. And one of my favorite scenes in that film is that moment when, of course, in the film, you're playing an acid attack survivor. And there's that scene where your attacker's father comes to your house to ask your father to let the case go.
Yeah.
And that scene just made my hair stand on end because you just come in and sit in front of him. There is no dialogue. You have to say nothing.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
just giving him a close up or what his son has done. How did you arrive that that was the specific thing to do? Was it already in the script? And how did you kind of find the expression that you have on your face in that moment?
Okay, I'm so glad you said this is the scene that you want to
I
discuss.
love that
And
scene.
feel that because
Yeah.
when I was reading it and I was talking to Bobby Sanjay sir and Manu was also present, and actually there were lines, there were dialogues for her. So the more I read it, the more we were reading it out loud, the more I was like, kuch nahi kahegi yaar, kuch nahi kahegi. Like I just kept feeling that because she's just coming from a class that she's left a class that she's just joined, and she's like, this is not where I belong, and she's just felt so um, lost and angry, and she's coming back home to hearing this, Govind's father saying, just let him go, let him have a life, don't ruin his life.
Right.
And there is nothing like a slap on the face than showing, but look at this life, look at what has happened to me.
We were like right there with her. We were staring him down with her.
With
That was the beauty of that scene. Parvathy,
exactly.
tell me, what is the first move that you have made in your professional life that has enabled you to be where you are?
So I used to be, and I want to talk about this a little bit. I'm hoping that actors out there, especially women, they probably can relate to it. I remember starting off, and I did not like have anybody helping me out. It was just me, and I did not like doing PR stuff or inaugurations or endorsements. I just wanted to do movies and go back home, and it did not work like that. A lot of managers kept telling me, "Yaar, aise nahi hota hai. You have to do item numbers to get money. You have to do, good movies for little money, and item numbers for." And these were the bizarre um, formulas that they would tell me. So what I kept doing is that
Right.
I never made any first steps. I never asked for auditions. I never like reached out to anybody saying, you know what, I'm a working actor. I would love to be considered if you can audition me. This was not a work culture at all that I came into. Now it's changing.
Yeah.
But then I watched Manjari Kuru, and that's Anjali's first film. And I just garnered all the courage up and I messaged her. I got her number and I messaged her. And I got a very curt reply saying, please email me. And I was like, okay, the first setback, I was like, okay, fine. I emailed. And then 4 years later is when Anjali called me for her project. And I was like, finally, have I manifested it? Like, finally, have I made it happen? Like, so I felt like even though timeline wise, it took me so long to catch her attention, this is one director with whom I have wanted to work, and I made the effort. I took her number, I got her email, I wrote to her, I did everything that I could have done to put myself out there. And in the 4 years, I remember messaging her on and off to like no response at the time too, because obviously she was busy. But finally, when I did start to work with her, and then it was a continuous, and it has been a continuous collaboration on so many ways. So that was my first move ever, and I'm very proud of.
Well done.
Thank you.
Parvati, you are fighting the good fight. Tell me, do you ever get exhausted? Do you ever get tired with all the negativity and the trolling and just the viciousness that comes at you sometimes?
Absolutely. Very much so. As corny as it sounds, I love. Like, I just love loving. I just think everyone can be kind.
Mm.
I spent many years being very angry. Um, and I still feel that I get angry very quick sometimes, especially with my closest friends who may be at that moment insensitive to certain things or would ask me to give it a break, and I can't give it a break because I just feel like I wear it on my skin. Everything that I have gone through, I wear it on my skin. I wear it on my skin what my sisters are going through, what they constantly communicate with me, and it probably is taking a toll on me. It exhausts me to a degree where I don't want to get up and do things. Sometimes, I just want to stay horizontal, and like it affects my productivity, all of that. But it's worth all of that when you get up and you do something and you see the result, and the result can be as big as, even though it seems little, as another person, a woman, smiling and saying, I think I can do it. I think it's very important.
Yeah.
to teach each other to say good things about yourselves. Like, so it's worth it. It's worth it at the end of the day.
What are the first moves that you would advise women to make in their lives to take charge of their lives and to make a difference?
The first thing I would say is work towards financial independence. That's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how supportive or unsupportive your family or your friends are,
Right.
and I have constantly seen women who have amazing potential being bogged down purely because they're still financially dependent on their parents or their husband or a friend even. So I think financial independence is a non-negotiable. Work towards that. Second, and not exactly, after on the same level, would be your health, reproductive health and general health. I've seen women always putting that as the second. Like, they
Yeah.
prioritize their husband's health, their fathers, their brothers. Like, even at home, I've barely ever seen my mother, make an appointment for herself to go to the doctor. To the extent that I've heard my aunt say that, "Oh, what if the doctor says something is wrong? So let me not go to the doctor." Like, that's the most bizarre argument I've heard for someone to not go to the doctor. And I've actually seen that only happen to women. So my tip is financial independence and health should be your highest priority.
What are the things you wish you knew when you started your career?
I wish I knew how to take better care of my health, but it'll save your life. So do yourself a favor and take care of your health, because that is the one thing, no matter what happens in your life, that will stand by you. And I wish I had more people telling me that.
Okay, what are the things that you're tired of hearing because of your gender?
To be honest, like, the moment they say anything, like, I think recently I met someone who said something about a woman driving and having parked wrong, and they said, "Oh my God, these women," and I just looked at them and I think they burned to ashes. And they're like, "No, no, no, I didn't say anything." I'm like, "No, no, let's get right into that. Why did you say that?" And they're like, "No, I didn't say anything." Something as simple as that. Like, people still don't get it. But I have a feeling I have changed my circle and surrounded myself with people who don't say anything because of my gender. But I do have someone really important in my life keeps telling me why is everything about feminism? Like, that is something I still hear from someone who's extremely close to me. And no matter how much I explain, that question still seems to come. It's like, everything is about, is it sexist, or it's about being they actually say things like, "Oh, being politically correct is too boring." That's something that I stop hearing. I would love to stop hearing that.
Okay, and last thing, what are the tips that you would give to aspiring actors?
Why? The big question. Why do you want to be an actor? That is my question to you. That should always be your yardstick question to yourself, like, at any point. So when I started off, it wasn't as deep as this for me. It wasn't. For me, I think my first movie was called Out of Syllabus, and I just wanted to know what acting was. So I went and I acted. I actually performed, and
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
call it the worst performance of mine, but it was still me exploring what acting was, and no, I didn't know any better. But by the second film, there was a lot of investigation on character and all of that. And I was like, "Oh, this is interesting. This probably is a field of science." And then I started, you know, working towards finding more actors and their interviews as to how they view it, because it was almost non-existent to find actors who would talk about it to you on set. Mm. So then I found anthropology and that correlation. So for me, that it started exciting me so much, and it still excites me. But the kind of movies I do, it has changed. The spectrum has changed. Initially, it was about learning. I just wanted to keep learning. Now, on top of wanting to learn through different genres and expand my psyche, expand my craft, I also want to help um, the visual scape of Malayalam cinema. I also want to help change that. Now, I acknowledge the fact that having worked in the industry for 15 years, people recognize my work, and they watch my work, and there's a certain credibility that comes with it. So my why has an added responsibility to it too.
Yeah.
I'm more of a content activist now, because I have also in 15 years realized that now my why also has an added will I do this film even if it has this and this and this,
Correct.
So
Correct.
I want to say that let your why evolve, let it be loose, but have a why. Because if you don't have a why, other people's why will become your why, and you'll be lost before you know it. Because being an actor requires so much of thin and thick skin to exist together. If you're not careful, you'll become a version that 15 other people want you to be. And your mind is going to be so abused, you don't want to put yourself through that.
Parvathy, this was so lovely. Thank you so much and cannot wait to see the film you make.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Parvathy. Thank you.
Bumble connects people across dating, friendship, and professional networking. No matter the type of relationship, women make the first move on Bumble.